As we often find ourselves in that position, we were in a markup, and had any of us left, they would have lost a quorum. So we ran over here as quickly as we could. Today, the Committee on Energy and Natural Resources holds a hearing to conduct oversight over the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, or FERC. Pursuant to the Federal Power Act and the Natural Gas Act, the Commission regulates the interstate transmission and wholesale market of electricity and natural gas, as well as oil and gas pipelines and hydroelectric power. It ensures that electricity rates are just and reasonable and licenses facilities within its statutory jurisdiction. All of these things happen to be vital to America's energy dominance, ensuring both our security and prosperity at home and also our ability to advance the interests of the United States on the world stage by supplying the energy needs of others. Today we'll be hearing from FERC's 5 commissioners to report on their priorities and the Commission's operations. They are Chairman Laura Sweat and Commissioners David Rosner, Lindsay See, Judy Chang, and David Lissert. Following my opening statement today and that of Ranking Member Heinrich, we'll hear opening statements from each of the commissioners, followed by questions from each of the senators in attendance. There was a time when the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission operated largely outside the public spotlight. But those days, of course, are now over. FERC now sits at the center of some of the most important questions facing our country: reliable electricity, affordable energy, data centers, manufacturing, national security. Every one of these issues, in its own way, now runs directly through FERC. Some estimates suggest that the Commission regulates activity representing roughly 5% of the American economy. This, of course, understates the matter because, in reality, the Commission's influence reaches much, much further than that. Energy is an input for basically everything we produce, everything we do. So when energy becomes more expensive, or when it becomes less reliable, every American pays the price in far more ways than one. That, of course, makes FERC's mission more important now than ever. The United States is experiencing the fastest growth in electricity demand in a generation. After years of relatively flat load growth, utilities across our country are now forecasting dramatic increases driven by data centers, artificial intelligence, advanced manufacturing, electrification, and industrial development. It means America is building again. It means investment is returning. But none of it happens if we cannot produce and deliver enough reliable electricity. That's why I was encouraged by the Commission's recent action under Section 206 of the Federal Power Act, addressing how regional transmission organizations and independent system operators manage large load interconnections. Rather than imposing a rigid one-size-fits-all federal mandate, the Commission directed 6 regional grid operators to re-examine how large data centers and other major new customers might connect to the grid, with particular attention to interconnection delays, who pays for the necessary upgrades, and what impact all these things might ultimately have on consumers. These are extraordinarily difficult questions. No one suggests that they are easy. Large data centers create tremendous economic opportunity, but they also consume enormous amounts of electricity. Existing ratepayers should not be forced to subsidize costs that properly belong to new entrants. But we also cannot allow outdated processes to prevent new investment from connecting to the grid. Getting that balance right will, of course, be difficult, but I'm confident that if you maintain your current trajectory, you, as our commissioners, will be more than up to that great task. I'm also encouraged by FERC's recent efforts to improve the permitting process for natural gas infrastructure. FERC is modernizing environmental reviews, reducing unnecessary delays, those that don't provide any additional value added on the environmental front, and it's expanding the use of blanket certificates for routine upgrades. Every year, that we happen to delay needed infrastructure is another year that Americans have to pay higher prices and face greater reliability risks. More importantly, I hope today's discussion reinforces something that should unite all of us, regardless of political party. As this committee continues its work on permitting reform, I hope we can build on the bipartisan momentum that has emerged around many of these issues. I look forward to getting perspectives from each one of you today on the challenges ahead and to working with each of you to ensure that we lower costs for consumers while simultaneously improving grid reliability. Ranking Member Heinrich.
Thank you, Chairman Lee, and special thanks to all 5 of FERC's commissioners for attending this hearing today. We very much appreciate having you here. The Federal Energy Regulatory Commission has long been an important independent agency. It serves the public interest by regulating electricity, hydroelectric dams, natural gas, and oil in a manner that is both fair and impartial from the President and from Congress as required by statute. Now, historically considered by some to be a bit of a sleepy agency, FERC faces a very pivotal time in our nation's history right now. Electricity prices are rising, and electricity supply has not been able to keep up with demand. According to a recent report, 75% of U.S. adults say that they've noticed their home energy costs increasing in recent years. Some of that blame can be squarely placed on our current president. I recently released a report on how this administration is waging a war on cheap, clean energy, and the impact of that is rising energy costs. The administration is slow-walking installing 73 gigawatts, think about that, gigawatts of solar, 43 gigawatts of storage, 30 gigawatts of onshore wind, and 16 gigawatts of offshore wind. Constraining this build-out would increase economy-wide utility costs by approximately $11.6 billion per year. But that is not the only reason that costs are rising. We're also seeing a rapid increase in electricity demand and are hampered by not getting enough power from generators to end users and struggling to quickly add new needed generation sources. Luckily, we can take steps to improve our grid to help move electricity more efficiently and bring new power sources online. I recently launched an initiative called Grid for Growth, a plan to meet surging electricity demand without shifting the costs of that to consumers. This effort complements ongoing efforts to pass bipartisan permitting reform. And as part of the effort, last week I introduced the Grid Connection and Congestion Management Act to create a faster path for generator interconnection. Modeled after ERCOT's Connect and Manage process, projects are rewarded for being flexible in their output by getting onto the grid faster. Other bills will follow in the next few weeks and months, but our ability to meet the rising needs of the grid are based in large part on our ability to build more interregional transmission lines. That is why permitting reform is so important. Interregional transmission lines can be the best line of defense against extreme weather conditions, improving reliability, and reducing consumer costs. While FERC requires some interregional transmission planning under Orders Number 1000 and 1920, this coordination has not, unfortunately, produced a substantial number of interregional transmission projects in the last decade. We need to find a way to build more high-voltage transmission lines in the next decade. Our ability to grow our economy depends on it. And to FERC's credit, the agency has taken active steps to confront energy challenges. Last month, FERC issued 6 show-cause orders requiring grid operators and their transmission owners to justify or propose changes to their current tariffs with respect to large load customers. These steps by FERC can help protect consumers and encourage grid operators to integrate new advanced technologies when adding new large loads to the grid. FERC choosing to address major electricity users like data centers and manufacturers is an important step in the right direction. Nevertheless, more action can and should be taken to ensure that consumers are protected from sky-high costs associated with data centers, manufacturers, and other large loads. I have been working on a bill intended to do just that and hope to speak more about that soon. However, all of these efforts that I mentioned will be meaningless if the independence of FERC is erased. The Supreme Court's recent decision has put the impartiality of independent agencies at risk. Now more than ever, FERC's mission to ensure that utility rates remain just and reasonable and not unduly discriminatory or preferential is critical to making sure millions of Americans can keep their lights on. During this once-in-a-generation moment, I continue to believe that regulatory certainty and the freedom for commissioners of independent agencies like FERC to act in a way to provide that certainty will be critical in meeting the energy challenges of today. And I hope to discuss these issues with each of you during this hearing and very much look forward to it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.